A business plan is a roadmap to guide the future of the business. Generally, Business Repository is an open access digital library on open software. Developing online repositories create a sustainable and scalable business model around it. We need online repositories because they offer a unique opportunity for global influence and growth.
Thank you, Ritika.
We have also taken a leap forward in this direction by organizing today's session with focus on how to set up online repository for business plan. Further, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Aparna, Director and President ISC MAIT, for the welcome address. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Ritika. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor R.P. Gupta, Chancellor's nominee Sri Suresh Gupta, sir, today's speaker Dr. Bhaskar Gupta, Dean Academics, Greater Noida, all the representatives of our mentee institutions, faculty members, and my students. I welcome you all in the second last mentor-mentee scheme event today based on developing online repository of business plan. Today's event is the second last event under the mentor-mentee scheme, wherein since 4 years we are organizing offline and online events based upon innovation, patents, startups, and entrepreneurship. Today's event title is the event which we are organizing for the first time by Dr. Bhaskar Gupta. I hope this event will go successful, and we will be eagerly waiting for the major event on 16th and 17th, and will be welcoming all the mentee institutions in our campus. I thank Dr. Bhaskar Gupta for accepting our invitation for the new topic. I am thankful to our Honorable Vice Chancellor sir and Shri Suresh Gupta sir for their immense support, and this is the reason why you were successful since past 4 years in these IIC programs. Thank you all. Over to you, Ritika.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, I would like to request Man of Wisdom, Honorable Vice Chancellor sir, to address the gathering.
Hello.
Sir, please.
Thank you, Ritika. Very good afternoon to everyone. Dr. Bhaskar Gupta, our today's keynote speaker. Dr. Aparna Mahajan, Director of the Institute. Shri Suresh Gupta ji, our Chancellor's nominee. All the universities
and academia. IRs can be used for scholarly communication, storing learning materials and coursework, managing collections of research documents, preserving digital materials for the long-term use, knowledge management, electronic publishing, research assessment exercises, and of course, collaboration tool. Institutional repository of ideas or a business plan which you want to transform into the prototype is a very powerful idea that can serve as an engine of change for any institution. In this digital era, modern era, everybody wants contents and to be successful information service providers. So information center and libraries needs to develop services in such a way so that the end users may manipulate the content as per their requirements. Therefore, in the present scenario, repositories have become an indispensable component for information and knowledge sharing in the scholar world. Repositories are going to provide a method for capturing and maintaining today's electronic materials so that tomorrow's scholars can understand the thinking behind the published records. Again, for the standard IRs, each and every institution should have to equip its library professionals so that they can be able to cope up with the ever-growing changes in this part. Institutional repositories is about digital collection that is going to capture and preserving the intellectual output of the university communities, respond to two strategic issues facing academic institutions. They provide a central component in reforming scholarly communication by stimulating innovation in a disaggregated publishing structure. Number two is they serve as tangible indicators of an institution's quality thus increasing its visibility, prestige, and public value. Institutional repositories are a part of an emerging movement towards open access to research information. Faculty and researchers at universities worldwide gather and interpret data, advocate new ideas, and extending human knowledge. This work is sometimes shared with other scholars and researchers as working papers, technical reports, and eventually show up in a peer-reviewed journal or book. Some may not. This preprint culture is strongest in the scientific and technical disciplines, but social scientists share similar works. One of the ways in which authors can self-archive their work is by depositing it in an institutional repository. This is a digital collection of intellectual output, such as research articles, theses, and teaching materials produced by members of an institution and stored on the institution's server. Not only does IRs allow for free access to these materials, but they also provide a way of storing and preserving them. Faculty and researcher, this one with. One of the ways in which authors can self-archive their work is by depositing it in an institutional repository. This is a digital collection of intellectual output, such as research articles, teaching materials, produced by members of an institution and stored on the server. Since the repositories contain the intellectual output of the university, and these output are very diverse and may include the preprints of articles or research outputs, reports submitted for publication, the text of journal articles accepted for publication, revised text of published work with comments from academic readers, conference papers, teaching materials, student projects, doctoral theses, and dissertations, data sets resulting from research projects, committee papers, computer software, works of art and photographs, and video recordings, etc. in by maximizing the visibility of outputs and providing the greatest possible chance of enhanced impact as a result. To showcase and sell the institution to interested constituencies, prospective staff, prospective students, and other stakeholders in the ecosystem. To collect and curate digital outputs or inputs in the case of spatial collections. To manage and to measure research and teaching activities, to provide and promote a workspace for work in progress and for collaborative or large-scale projects, to facilitate and further the development and sharing of digital teaching materials and aids, to support and sustain student endeavors, including providing access to thesis and dissertations and providing a location for the development of e-portfolios. 6 factors that a business model encompasses. If you are going to work as a budding entrepreneur, you have come out with some creative idea which you want to transform into a feasible business plan. You have to work with a very right problem statement. Otherwise, your startup will fail and your idea will die. So you have to choose a very innovative business model for your startup. So you have to be very careful about, once you are going to start your own business or enterprise. So important factors are articulation of the value proposition. So we have to look for the value proposition of the repositories also. Identification of the target market segment. We have to define the business value chain. We have to specification of revenue generation mechanism, specification of the business position within the value network, formulation of the business competitive strategy, are all important factors behind the innovative business model. You have to be careful about the different innovation mechanism and design-driven, mechanism or design-driven innovation. And you have to choose innovative business models so that you are going to create entire new market, which I am going to talk about. That means it's about radical innovation. We have been using disruptive kind of innovation, incremental kind of innovation, sustaining kind of innovation. But dear friends, it's a time of using radical innovation when it comes to a technological breakthrough. There had not been any technological breakthrough since a long time where you are going to create something new, entirely new market, where you are going to develop your product, you are going to offer your services for the commercialization, and thereafter you can think of scaling up of your business or the startup. For institutions and other open access repositories, the value proposition can be summarized as follows: maximizing the accessibility, maximizing the availability, enabling the discoverability, enable increased functionality, enabling long-term storage and curation, enabling other potential benefits are all important advantages of using a digital repository. So if you look at the metrics, you will come to know it is always about viability. So viability means some technical feasibility must be there, commercial viability must be there. If you are not going to work with some feasible idea or the right problem, definitely your prototype would not be able to get that positive response from the customer, which is one of the important stages of any design thinking process, where we have to empathize with our customers in order to gather the idea of the consumers, and based on that we are going to perform reiterations. Number of iterations are being performed until we get the right product or service in our hands, which must be the right prototype. So does our business offering fit stakeholder needs and preferences? So you have to be very careful about the needs and wants of the customer. If you are not going to work with their needs, then definitely your startup is going in a wrong direction. Sustainability is equally important. What are the likely costs? So it is about economic sustainability, adaptability. Is our model adaptable and flexible? You intend to use, and why is it best for your business? List the names of your lawyer, accountant, insurance agent, and any other professionals. List what licenses you will require to go into business. Institutional repositories, by capturing, preserving, and disseminating collective intellectual capital, serves as meaningful indicators of an institution's academic quality. It has been seen that much of the intellectual output and value of an institution's intellectual property is usually diffused through thousands of scholarly journals. An institutional repository of ideas has many benefits, such as it provides long-term solution, it improves scholarly communication, remedying the weakness of self-archiving, that is lack of proper security, long-term preservation, and wasting faculty time, extending the work of disciplinary repositories, improves online teaching both on campus and via net. So what are the benefits? Providing institutional information asset management, defining institutional sources of research, identifying institutions' value to funding sources, raises the profile of the institution, institutional research more visible, will be more impactful and available in electronic form, contributes to national and global initiatives, which will ensure an international audience for institutions' latest research. Other universities are developing their own archives, which together will be searchable by global search tools. Libraries can take a lead role in this in order to raise the profile of an academic institution. Institutional access to international research output, international access to research generated in developing countries, promotion of institutional research, creation of partnership and networking are all the benefits of using institutional repositories. IBM issued digital library software in 1991 to manage the collection of digital files for the first time. IBM groundbreaking technology grappled with key issue of storage, maintenance, retrieval and display digital content. This was the first effort towards the digital repository software and it showed path to others. So this is the repository created by IBM using software. There is now software easily available to create and maintain in institutional repositories, and as a result, the challenges in setting up an institutional repositories are now seen as being less to do with technology and more to do with managerial, organizational and cultural issues. Some systems are open source while others are commercial. There are a number of softwares available for creating these IRs. The brief of some are given below. So DSpace was developed jointly by MIT Library and Hewlett Packard. DSpace describes itself as a groundbreaking digital repository system. It captures, stores, indexes, preserves and redistributes an organization's research material formats. So DSpace is one of the softwares for creating institutional repositories. ePrints is very popular in India, is the original digital repository software developed by University of Southampton to manage an open archive. ePrints was the first open archives initiative compliant repository software. It typically supports the collections of preprints and technical reports, often subject-based in scope. Fedora is very popular these days, is a digital repository jointly developed by Cornell University, Information Science and University of Virginia as a project. The Fedora project's goal is to provide an open source repository software and related services to serve as the foundation for many different types of information management system. Fedora is not a complete system such as DSpace and ePrints, whereas it provides an infrastructure upon which 339 services can be developed, but I would suggest to go for ePrints or DSpace rather than going for Fedora. Greenstone is another repository software which is very widely used in New Zealand. Where appropriate, ensure compliance and monitor metadata quality on an outgoing basis. Familiarity with current best practice procedures, work with IT services, scope the long-term storage requirements of repositories, work with institutional personnel including university records manager, archivist and IT services, identify best practice and establish requirements for preservation, develop a policy for how different materials should be preserved and try to create impact. Familiarity with IPR issues needed when accepting material, needed to develop guidelines to ensure consistent practice, must be able to provide advice on relevant IPR issues. You must have an ability to develop a content policy, types of materials to be printed, to be stored, how different materials should be managed, how materials are to be managed, how withdrawals of deposited items are to be managed, increase the amount and quality of items, identifying suitable publications for deposit, departmental web pages and following the development of new areas of research, encouraging authors of suitable publications to deposit their work, explaining to authors how to self-archive, asking authors for files from authors and convert to appropriate formats for deposit, could be Word or PDF, and deposit in the repository on their own behalf. Lies with a wide variety of departments, identify high-level and longer-term strategies. You have to identify and address any areas of concern. You have to build awareness and confidence in the repository service, develop practical policies, lies with a wide variety of departments and interest groups. In particular, senior institutional managers must be aware of the benefits of the repository to the institution, develop an advocacy program, develop advocacy and publicity materials, be very proactive, assess the training needs of the stakeholders, develop suitable training programs and mentor them, organize and run training sessions, introduction to open access, how to deposit items into the repository. So some key issues are there: the institutional culture, scope of the repository, content, access levels, legal aspects, ethical aspects, standards, sustainability, and funding. Comprehension, it means that all members of the team must share a common vision and understanding of the purposes and scope of the collaboration. It involves thinking and working together with different people contributing their different talents, working with others to solve problems and making important decisions. Context, change, caring, commitment, creativity, competency are all very much required. Institutional repositories can fail over the time for many reasons. It could be about policy, management failure, or incompetence or technical problems. Scientists, librarians, and library professionals in developing countries like India have to aware themselves about the new opportunities provided by information and communication technologies. Thank you very much. It's over to you.
So much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. I hope it will be very fruitful and encouraging to each one of us. Participants, the session is open for your queries. Kindly raise your hand to ask the queries. Now, I would like to invite Engineer Kunal Singh, Innovation Ambassador, IIC MAIT, to ask the queries. Kunal sir, please.
Thank you, ma'am. And that was a wonderful session, sir.
Thank you.
So there are some queries here. My first query is that how to motivate students to use these institutional repositories. That is the most challenging aspect of
This is a very pertinent question. See, first I would say that students are to be encouraged for the innovative work, which is missing in academic institutions, and Ministry of Education is also focusing. So first we should encourage them, because what are you going to deposit in an institutional repository? It must be a high quality work, because it is an open access. So it can be accessed, anywhere across the world once it is being deposited.
repositories.
Yeah, see, that's a very good question. See, first, I cannot tell, my faculty authors to directly go to for SEI journal or IEEE journals or journals of high repute. So we can start with UGC Care List 1, UGC Care List 2, UGC listed journals or high impact factor journals, and gradually first let them publish their paper with UGC care listed journals, and you can gradually move to Scopus index journals. After Scopus, you can ask them to go gradually to go for SCI, SCIE journals, and thereafter, because we say workflow is there, and then you can think for going up to Web of Science or IEEE transactions or reputed journals, because it is your intellectual property, it is your knowledge, and it takes more than a year in getting your paper published in these reputed journals. So you should encourage, you can encourage them by first you have to mentor them also. If some senior professor is there in your college who has already published more than 100 or 150 papers, because there is some mechanism, some method which has to be followed. In writing a paper is also an art. So when you are going to deposit for your paper in IEEE or other journals of repute. So I hope you must have understood. So
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Ritika.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Kunal sir, for asking these queries. Thank you, Bhaskar sir, for answering these queries. Now, I would like to invite Engineer Madhu, convener IIC MAIT, to give vote of thanks. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Ritika ma'am. A very good afternoon to everyone. I feel honored and privileged today to get an opportunity to propose a vote of thanks. It has been our pleasure to host this session, and I am thankful to all of you for joining this session, and I'm sure everyone has benefited immensely by attending this event. My sincere thanks to the keynote speaker, Dr. Bhaskar Gupta, Director and Dean Academics, IIMT Group of Colleges, Greater Noida, for kindly accepting our invitation and gracing the event with his benign presence. I am thankful to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. R.K. Gupta, for his continuous support, mentorship, and advice, which have greatly helped towards the successful organization of this session. I am thankful to our Chancellor's nominee, Shri Suresh Gupta sir, for his available help and cooperation throughout the preparation of this session. My profound thanks to our esteemed mentee institutes, Central University, Himachal Pradesh, UIT, HPU Shimla, Maharishi Markandeshwar University, Haryana, Deen Bandhu Choturam University of Science and Technology, Haryana, and Global Institute of Technology, Jaipur, for being kind grace enough the occasion with your presence. My gratitude and thanks to Professor Dr. Aparna N. Mahajan, President IIC, for her continuous guidance and moderation. My special heartfelt thanks to my dear colleagues and the organizing team of this event, Dr. Vinod Kumar, Engineer Ranjit, Engineer Ritika, Engineer Kunal, and Mr. Ajay for their untiring and proactive support and assistance in preparation of this event. Last but not the least, I thank all the participants for your kind listening and support. Thank you all for being with us. Over to you, Ritika ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for this wonderful vote of thanks. Now, I request all IIC members of esteemed mentee institutes and members of IIC MAIT kindly turn on your camera so that screenshot of the event can be taken. Please. Kanika ma'am, please take the screenshot.
Bhaskar sir, you are requested to kindly unshare your screen, please.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Ranjit sir, you are also requested to take the screenshot. It's done, sir.
Just a moment, Ritika ma'am, we are doing at our end.
Yes, ma'am.